We're partners in the G7, we're partners in the G20, in many other international organizations.
Right now, headlines are screaming about Bitcoin ETFs. Analysts are dissecting Ethereum's next fork like it's the event of the century. Crypto Twitter is chasing pump-and-dump coins like it's 2021 all over again. But beneath all that noise, behind the curtain, something enormous just happened, and almost nobody noticed. The World Economic Forum, yes, the same institution that sits at the crossroads of global finance, tech, governance, and geopolitics, just quietly included a name in one of their high-level frameworks. A name that most retail investors are still sleeping on. A name that isn't just competing for attention. It's building the rails for a new kind of world. That name? Hedera Hashgraph. No hype, no moon boy marketing, no empty promises, just silent execution backed by some of the most powerful institutions on the planet. And here's what makes this moment different. This isn't a random shout-out. This isn't speculative. This is strategic. Because when the WEF references a technology, it's not by accident. It's a signal, a breadcrumb, a glimpse into the kind of infrastructure they believe will power the fourth industrial revolution. And now, Hedera has entered that conversation. If you're already holding HBAR, buckle up. If you're not, you may want to take a closer look. Because this is no longer just about cryptocurrency. It's about the underlying architecture of global systems, money, identity, supply chains, energy, healthcare, governance, all of it. The world is being recoded in real time. And while everyone's staring at the surface, HBAR is being written into the foundation. What the WEF just revealed is not just surprising, it's paradigm shifting. And it's time we talk about it. Let's break down exactly what the World Economic Forum just revealed. Because this isn't speculation, it's documented. In one of their most recent publications, the WEF outlined a technological roadmap for the fourth industrial revolution, a term they've been using to describe the fusion of physical, digital, and biological systems. Think artificial intelligence, digital identity, central bank digital currencies, the tokenization of everything. Now, buried in this report, in the section discussing trust infrastructure for the digital economy, there's a quiet but powerful mention of Hedera Hashgraph. Not as a fringe project, not as a blockchain experiment, but as a critical layer in the emerging global infrastructure. And here's the twist. Hedera wasn't listed among typical cryptocurrencies. It was placed alongside enterprise-grade technologies, solutions trusted by governments and multinational corporations. Let that sink in. The same organization that helped shape global policies during the pandemic. The same think tank that hosts world leaders, IMF directors, central bankers, and CEOs of trillion-dollar companies every January in Davos, just acknowledged Hedera as a viable, scalable, and efficient framework for digital governance and data integrity on a global scale. This wasn't a hype-filled spotlight. It was a strategic name drop. No bells, no whistles, no media blitz, just a quiet green light from one of the most influential institutions on the planet. Why is that important? Because the WEF doesn't endorse things by accident. They don't speculate like retail investors. They consult with central banks, regulatory bodies, and global corporations to craft long-term frameworks, ones that affect the way entire economies operate. So when they put Hedera in the same room as Hyperledger, IBM Blockchain, and Consensus, you better believe it's intentional. It means Hedera isn't being seen as just a cryptocurrency. It's being considered as digital infrastructure, the same way roads, power grids, and the internet were seen during past revolutions. Now, you might be thinking, so what's the big deal about being mentioned in a WEF report? Here's why it matters. Because the World Economic Forum doesn't just talk about the future, they help design it. This is the same institution that's been advising world governments for decades. The same forum that met with the IMF to shape digital currency frameworks. The same group that introduced the concept of a global reset, not as a conspiracy theory, but as a coordinated economic transformation that's already in motion. So when the WEF signals a technology like Hedera Hashgraph, it's not hype. It's preparation. It's a window into the tools they're considering for the next generation of digital infrastructure. Because let's be clear, they're not trying to pick the next big meme coin. They're not speculating on price action. They're planning how global systems will communicate, transact, authenticate, and secure data in the years to come. And for that mission, you need more than a blockchain. You need something that is fast enough to support billions of real-time transactions, secure enough to protect national data systems, scalable enough to grow with the demands of smart cities, AI networks, CBDCs, and IoT devices, green enough to meet the world's strictest sustainability goals. And that's where Hedera Hashgraph quietly stands out. It's not just faster, it's fundamentally different. It doesn't operate on traditional blockchain mechanics. It runs on a hashgraph consensus algorithm, a next-gen distributed ledger technology that doesn't bundle transactions into blocks, but rather spreads information through something called gossip about gossip. Sounds complex? That's because it is. But here's what it means. Hedera can achieve finality in seconds. No mining, no forks, no congestion. Just lightweight, efficient, and secure consensus, the kind of technology that governments and corporations can actually build on. And that's exactly why the WEF's quiet endorsement should turn heads. Because this isn't just about cryptocurrency anymore. It's about positioning. Positioning for a future where digital identity, cross-border payments, verified data, tokenized assets, and automated governance all need a common trust layer, and HBAR is being slotted in as a potential foundation. This isn't hype. It's architecture. And it's happening now while most of the world is distracted. Let's be clear. Hedera isn't trying to be the loudest project in the room. It doesn't need to be. Because while others chase attention, Hedera is chasing adoption. And the results? They speak for themselves. Hedera Hashgraph is not a typical blockchain. In fact, it's not a blockchain at all. It's built on an entirely different foundation. Hashgraph technology. A distributed consensus algorithm that delivers blazing speed, bank-grade security, fair ordering of transactions, and finality in seconds. We're talking about 10,000 plus transactions per second without sacrificing decentralization or energy efficiency. No miners, no validators racing for block rewards. Just a lightweight, low-cost, eco-friendly consensus layer designed for enterprise-grade performance. And speaking of enterprise, look who's sitting on Hedera's governing council. Google, IBM, LG, Boeing, Standard Bank, Shinhan Bank, Dell, Ubisoft, DLA Piper. Not just crypto-native companies, global titans across tech, finance, law, gaming, aviation, and telecommunications, all working together to govern the Hedera network. This isn't decentralization by buzzword. This is structured, rotating governance from some of the most powerful and trusted institutions in the world. Each of them runs a node. Each of them has a voice. No single entity controls the network. Now here's what's quietly happening behind the scenes. HBAR is being used right now in real-world applications that stretch across critical industries. In supply chain transparency, companies are leveraging Hedera to verify product authenticity from manufacturer to consumer. In ESG reporting, organizations are anchoring carbon data onto the Hashgraph for immutable tracking. In decentralized identity, governments are testing ways to verify and issue credentials on Hedera's network. In tokenized assets, financial institutions are using it to represent real estate, commodities, and securities digitally. Even in healthcare, Hedera is being used to timestamp and secure sensitive patient data. This is adoption at the infrastructure level, not retail-level speculation. HBAR isn't being built for traders. It's being built under the systems traders, governments, and corporations all rely on. And now, with the World Economic Forum bringing Hedera into its long-term vision, the picture becomes even clearer. This isn't about short-term gains. This is about long-term positioning, embedding Hedera into the DNA of a digital-first, tokenized global economy. It's not just another crypto. It's not trying to replace the dollar. It's not trying to be your next moonshot. It's trying to become the silent engine that powers everything else. And so far, it's succeeding quietly, efficiently, and globally. Now let's zoom out, because this goes far beyond any single token, project, or investment. The world is changing faster than most people realize. We are living through a once-in-a-century shift. A transition from the old world built on paper, trust-based systems, and siloed databases, to a new global framework powered by automation, real-time data, digital identity, and tokenized value. The fourth industrial revolution isn't coming. It's already here, and it demands a new kind of infrastructure, one that is instant, transparent, tamper-proof, sustainable, and globally interoperable. Let's be honest. Most blockchains today weren't built for that world. They were built to disrupt. Hedera? It was built to integrate. That's why governments, banks, corporations, and even NGOs are turning to Hedera, not for speculation but for solutions. Because the new financial system will need to host central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, support smart contracts that don't fail under load, anchor legal agreements, land registries, and medical records, verify real-time ESG data for carbon credits and sustainability compliance, secure decentralized identities for refugees, citizens, and global travelers. And behind all of that, you need trust. Trust that can't be gamed, forged, or altered. That's what distributed ledgers provide. And that's why the World Economic Forum is looking so closely at platforms like Hedera. But here's what makes HBAR different from the rest. It doesn't just promise the future, it's already powering it. HBAR is being used by the United Nations to track sustainable development goals. It's being tested in CBDC simulations. It's helping governments issue digital credentials. It's enabling the tokenization of carbon markets, real estate, and intellectual property right now. This is no longer about what if. This is about what's already happening, beneath the headlines, beneath the surface. So when the WEF quietly mentions Hedera in their digital infrastructure roadmap, they're not making a casual reference. They're pointing to the blueprint of the next global system. A system where value flows seamlessly across borders, where contracts execute without courts, where identity is portable, secure, and verifiable anywhere, and where trust is built into the technology itself, not layered on afterward. And in that world, Hedera Hashgraph isn't just a participant. It's part of the foundation. This isn't just about BAR's price chart. It's about where the world is headed and who's helping build it. Asterisk. There are moments in time when everything changes. Moments when the world quietly shifts beneath our feet. But no one feels it until it's too late. We are in one of those moments right now. While debates rage over interest rates, inflation, and bull runs, while influencers scream about meme coins, and traders obsess over red and green candles, something far more profound is unfolding. A complete re-architecture of how value moves, how trust is established, how identity is verified, how entire economies operate. And in this silent reconstruction, Hedera Hashgraph is not waiting for permission. It's already being written into the digital foundation of tomorrow. Not because it's flashy, not because it's popular, but because it works efficiently, securely, scalably. And now, with the World Economic Forum quietly placing it in the blueprint of the future, the message couldn't be clearer. HBAR isn't the next wave. It's the protocol beneath the waves, the quiet engine behind the interface, the infrastructure that governments, enterprises, and institutions are beginning to trust, even before the public catches on. Think about that. Think about how the internet was once dismissed as a fad, how Amazon was just a bookstore, how Bitcoin was laughed at by banks, and how those who understood the shift early, before it was mainstream, were the ones who shaped the next era. This is that moment again. Right now, most people are focused on noise, distractions, hype. They're chasing fast money. But history doesn't reward the loud. It rewards the positioned, the patient, the ones who saw the architecture forming before the skyline ever appeared. So ask yourself, when central banks go fully digital, when supply chains run on ledgers instead of paperwork, when your ID, your house deed, your health record, your assets, all live on decentralized rails, what systems will be trusted to hold them? Whose technology will be powering that trust layer? The WEF just gave you a hint. Hedera is already there. already integrated, already solving, not promising, delivering. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't about being early to a coin. Maybe it's about understanding the invisible systems that the world will depend on. Maybe it's about standing at the edge of a transformation and choosing to step in with clarity, not confusion. So here's the truth. The financial reset isn't coming. It's already here. The only question left is, will you be part of the system that gets replaced or part of the system that replaces it? The clock is ticking. The architecture is being finalized. The foundation is being poured. And Hedera Hashgraph is written into the concrete.